A wealthy father sits his 12-year-old son down and says something no school will ever teach him. Your teacher told you to study hard, get good grades, and find a safe job. Forget all of it. That advice will keep you comfortable. It will never make you rich. That conversation happens in wealthy households around the world. Not once. Not occasionally. Constantly. Generationally. Rich families run a parallel education system, one with no classrooms, no textbooks, no degrees. Just knowledge, passed quietly at dinner tables, about how money actually works. And here is what makes this so dangerous. It is not that this knowledge is complicated. It is not that you need a finance degree to understand it. It is that nobody ever told you it existed. You were taught to earn money. They were taught to deploy it. You were taught to save. They were taught to multiply. You were taught that debt is dangerous. They were taught that debt is a weapon. Same world. Same economy. Completely different rules. And the gap between those two sets of rules is the gap between working your entire life and building wealth that lasts generations. Today, we close that gap. This is the Elite Economics, where every video will change how you see money, history, and the systems controlling your life. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You will not want to miss what is coming next. What did your parents teach you about money growing up? Drop your honest answer in the comments. We read every single one, and this conversation is going to be eye-opening. Before we get into what wealthy families teach, you need to understand why you were never taught it yourself. And the answer is not a conspiracy. It is something simpler and far more uncomfortable. The modern school system was built during the Industrial Revolution. Its purpose was never to create thinkers or builders. It was to create workers. People who could follow instructions, show up on time, and trade their hours for wages without questioning the arrangement. Financial independence was never part of the design. Because the economy does not need everyone to be financially free. It needs consumers. People who spend everything they earn, borrow to buy things they cannot afford, and keep the cycle turning. Teaching real financial literacy would disrupt that cycle. So it is simply not taught. Not out of cruelty. Out of structure. The result is an information gap that compounds across generations. Wealthy families pass down financial knowledge the same way they pass down wealth. And everyone else passes down the habits that guarantee the next generation starts from zero again. Knowledge compounds exactly like interest. And ignorance compounds exactly like debt. So what exactly are wealthy families teaching behind closed doors? The first lesson sounds almost insultingly simple. Money is not a reward for hard work. It is a tool you deploy. Most people operate on a single equation their entire lives. Work equals money. You show up, you trade your time, you get paid. And that equation is not wrong. It is just incomplete. Because it has a ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day. You can only trade so many of them. And the moment you stop trading, the money stops with you. Wealthy families teach a completely different equation. You take the money you have, you send it into the world, and you make it come back with more. You invest it. You use it to acquire things that generate more of it. You make it work while you sleep, while you travel, while you live your life. The wealthiest people in history did not simply earn more per hour than everyone else. They removed themselves from the equation entirely. They built systems that produced income without their presence. And that single distinction, earning versus deploying, is where every great fortune begins. And that leads directly to the second lesson. Because once you understand that money is a tool, the next question becomes obvious. What do you build with it? Ask anyone in the middle class how they are doing financially and they will tell you their salary. Ask someone wealthy the same question and they will tell you what they own. Same question. Fundamentally different answers. And that difference explains why one group works forever while the other does not. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket without requiring your daily labor. A rental property generating monthly income. A business that runs without you. An investment portfolio paying dividends. A piece of intellectual property earning royalties years after you created it. A liability is anything that pulls money out. The finance car losing value every single day. The oversized mortgage eating half your paycheck. The subscriptions and purchases designed to project a lifestyle you cannot actually sustain. Wealthy children learn one question before all others. Does this put money in my pocket or take it out? That single question, asked consistently across a lifetime, is the quiet mechanism that separates those who build wealth from those who build debt. Now, the third lesson is the one that challenges everything you have been told. Because the relationship between the wealthy and debt is the exact opposite of what most people assume. Consumer debt is poison. There is no debate about that. Credit cards maxed out on things that lose value the moment you buy them. Car loans on vehicles you cannot afford. Payday loans that trap you in cycles of repayment. This kind of debt destroys wealth, and the advice to avoid it is completely correct. But there is another kind of debt that wealthy families understand deeply. Strategic debt. Debt used not to consume, but to acquire. When a wealthy investor borrows at 5% to buy a property returning 10, they are not going into debt. They are using other people's money to build their own wealth. Banks do this every single day. They take your deposits, pay you almost nothing in interest, and lend that exact money at rates 5, 10, 20 times higher. They use your money to make their money. That is strategic debt in action. That is what wealthy families teach their children before those children are old enough to drive. And it is the lesson most people never receive. The fourth lesson builds on everything before it, and it might be the most consequential of all. You will never build lasting wealth by trading your time for money. It does not matter if you earn $50 an hour or $500. If income requires your physical presence, it has a limit. And that limit will define the ceiling of your entire financial life. Wealthy families teach their children that there are three types of income. Earned income, the money from showing up to a job. It is the most heavily taxed, the most time-dependent, and the most fragile. One layoff and it vanishes overnight. Portfolio income, the profits from investments that have grown in value. And passive income, money that flows in whether you are present or not. The wealthy do not necessarily work less than everyone else. They work differently. They spend their energy building businesses, systems, and assets that produce income independently of their time. They move relentlessly from earned income toward passive income. Because earned income buys you a living. Passive income buys you freedom. And freedom, not a bigger paycheck, is what wealthy families are actually optimizing for. The fifth lesson challenges perhaps the deepest instinct most people carry about money. The belief that playing it safe is the intelligent choice. That avoiding risk is responsible. That keeping your money in a savings account is wise. Wealthy families teach the exact opposite. The greatest financial risk you will ever take is doing nothing. Your savings account earns 1%. Inflation runs at 3 to 5. Every single year you play it safe, your money loses purchasing power. You are not protecting wealth. You are watching it quietly disappear. And that stable job everyone told you to chase? One employer. One income source. One decision maker above you who can eliminate your entire livelihood with a single conversation. That is not security. That is fragility dressed up as stability. Real safety comes from diversification. Multiple income streams. Assets across different markets. And the financial literacy to manage all of it. The wealthy do not avoid risk. They understand it, manage it, and teach their children to do the same long before the world teaches them to be afraid of it. So here is the uncomfortable truth that the history of wealth forces us to confront. The gap between the rich and everyone else is not just about money. It is about knowledge. Not the kind printed on a diploma, but the kind passed down quietly when no one else is listening. Money is a tool. Assets beat income. Debt can build or destroy. Time is the real currency. And safety is the most dangerous illusion of all. These are not secrets locked behind mansion gates. They are available to anyone willing to learn them and disciplined enough to act. The question was never about access. It was always about awareness. Now you are aware. If this changed how you think about money, hit subscribe. The Elite Economics. History has the answers. I will show you where to look. Thanks for watching.